Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining our Rise Los Angeles panel, Maintaining Momentum in Women's Sports. My name is Ashlyn, and I serve on the board of Rise LA. I want to be the first to welcome you. Today, we have hundreds of viewers from across the country joining us to hear from an incredible group of female panelists on how each is using this time to galvanize for greater change and growth in women's sports. Also, thanks to many of you who submitted great questions leading up to the event. Our plan is to get to a few of them during the next hour. Before we get started, I'd like to thank our presenting sponsors, Los Angeles Football Club, LA Galaxy, and Dignity Health Sports Park for making this event possible. Now I'd like to introduce our panelists. Krieger. Allie is a key piece of the U.S. women's national team defense and two-time World Cup champion. Since joining the team in 2008, Allie exemplifies persistence, has reached over 100 caps, and is known for her confident and consistent style. When she is not with the national team, Allie plays as a right back for the Orlando Pride. Allie recently married fellow national team star goalkeeper Ashlyn Harris. Ashlyn Harris. Ashlyn is a two-time World Cup champion and plays goalkeeper for both the U.S. women's national team and Orlando Pride. Since 2013, Ashlyn has played an integral part in building the national team and is known and revered for her unique and bold style. In addition to being a social justice advocate, Ashlyn is a highly talented content creator. Lindsay Kagawa Colas. Lindsay joined Wasserman in 2009 and is currently Senior Vice President, Olympics and Women. With a focus on representing cultural conversation influencers, Lindsay oversees the careers of many elite and outspoken Olympic medalists, including WNBA players Diana Taurasi, Breanna Stewart, Sue Bird, Brittany Griner, and Maya Moore, swimmer Simone Manuel, beach volleyball player April Ross, fencer Ibtihaj Muhammad, and Paralympians Alana Nichols and Scout Bassett. Lindsay was also recognized by Sports Business Journal 40 Under 40 in 2018. Lauren Fendrick. Lauren is a 2016 Rio Beach Volleyball Olympian, 10-time tournament champion, 3-time AVP Best Blocker, silver medalist at the 2017 World Championships, and is licensed to practice law in California. She is a proud mom of daughter Willa, born on June 3rd, 2019. Post-pregnancy, she came back to win her first tournament this past February in Cambodia. She is currently working to qualify for the 2021 Tokyo Olympics, but not competing. Lauren coaches at Stanford, the women's beach volleyball team with her husband, Andrew Fuller. Danita Johnson. Danita was named president and COO of the LA Sparks in January of 2019, returning to the organization where she served as senior vice president from 2014 to 2017. In her first season in the role, she guided the Sparks to the 2019 WNBA Business Franchise of the Year Award, as well as the league's ticket sales and marketing performance awards. Under Danita's leadership, the Sparks have led the WNBA in corporate sponsorship dollars earned, social media, and in year-over-year attendance for 3 consecutive seasons, drawing over 11,000 fans per game to Staples Center. Last but not least, our fabulous moderator, Lolita Lopez. Lolita is a trusted voice, investigative reporter, and anchor for NBC4 Southern California. Lolita is an avid sports enthusiast and former two-sport collegiate athlete who shares our passion for moving the needle forward in women's sports. Lolita, I'll let you take it from here.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Ashley, and thank you so much to everyone at WISE. You know, what's amazing about what's happening right now is this could have just been a local event, but in the situation that we're in, you know, we're making it national. So we welcome and say thank you for joining us from wherever you are checking us out. It really shows the power of what we can all do as a collective. And when I think about staying at home, which most of us are in these stay-at-home orders, for this particular group, it means staying vibrant and viable. And I wanted just to give you a couple of examples of what I mean by that. Take a look at some of these Instagram posts by some of the folks that are on our panel and other other athletes. You've got Allie and Ashlyn looking cute, always presenting themselves in the best way. Here's Lauren here, who had a moment when she couldn't finish a workout, and then Willa, her daughter, woke up from a nap, so she put her right on the mat and just kept going. You also have other athletes like the GOAT, Simone Biles, here with some power moves while she wears her beats. And of course, Megan Rapinoe and Sue Bird with their show, A Touch More. This particular episode with Diana Taurasi and others went on for hours and just got whatever ratings can be in social media. They topped them all. People were super engaged and just listening to what these folks had to do. And so I wanted to kind of present that there, because no one is sitting on their hands and not doing anything. And I see that with Allie, Ashlyn, and Lauren. I want to start with you all because, you know, you've been doing all of these things, showcasing brands, showcasing yourselves, but you would have been able to do this when the Olympics were ongoing, when tournaments were ongoing, when games would be being played. And so that's not happening now. So Allie and Ashlyn, let's start with you. Talk about the challenges of being able to do something like this without having the tournaments and the games available to you.
You know, it's been really difficult. We actually have started to really enjoy our time the first few weeks because we haven't had, you know, time like this for over 10 years.
Right.
So at the beginning we were like, okay, this is actually nice to kind of give our bodies a rest. But then, you know, hearing about the Olympics being canceled and then potentially, you know, having our season postponed to who knows when has been really difficult on us and really mentally tough, and physically as well. We've been really trying to find different ways to work out. It's obviously, you know, it's our job. We enjoy it, but having it be our job has been really difficult because we need, you know, a field, and we need, I don't know, certain things to be able to train with to keep us at our best. And if we don't have that, you know, in and around the house, it makes it really tough. So mentally, you know, it's just trying to find, you know, different ways to train and keep it at the top of our game, because we don't know when we will be getting back. And when we do, we want to be at our best.
Yeah, and we're so used to connecting with our teammates and connecting with our fans. And at the end of the day, we're performers, right? And, you know, we love to go out on the field and put a good performance in and connect with the community and the fan and the supporters. And, you know, that has changed. And I don't know what the norm will be moving forward. So it's been quite a shift now trying to connect on these different types of situations to bring the fans in, see what we're doing, see how everyone's doing. And it's just like a weird type of thing. You know, now we're not connecting in person on the field doing what we love. We're trying to, you know, continue this sense of community through a screen. So it's like, it's been a little bit weird. And, you know, as you know, Allie and I are very creative people, and we vibe off of, you know, other people's energies and our experiences traveling. So it's like kind of sticky and hard. Just the walls are starting to close in, and we're doing the best we can at this point. But you know, we're trying to do things like this where we can have social happy hours and connect with other influential and, you know, incredible people, just to give us a little bit more energy to keep grinding and keep doing, you know, what we do. And we're hopeful that, you know, things continue to get better. And I, you know, as far as I don't know what sports are going to look like moving forward, but we're trying to figure it out and stay positive and take care of the things we can control.
Yeah, and also maybe perhaps using some of the things that we're learning from this virtual space to maybe take on when hopefully we can get back on the court and stuff. And I mean, for Lauren, for you were just transitioning back from being pregnant in the early days of motherhood, going off to Cambodia, and then now this, you know, you have some really interesting posts using like sacks to do your workouts at home, sacks of, what is it, sand sacks or sandbags, like out doing stuff for, so, I mean, how are you trying to find a way to keep your body going in the way that you need to as a professional athlete?
Yeah. It, you know, for me, when all this hit, I had been waiting 17 months to get back and compete after I was pregnant and gave birth to my daughter in June, was able to compete in February in Cambodia in my first tournament and win. And we were about 6 hours before our flight to Australia, the Friday before everything shut down in California. And we had to make the decision to pull the plug. And in the moment, it was so hard. And, we obviously now in hindsight can see how correct that decision was. And luckily we could see the writing on the wall. But echoing everything that Allie and Ashlyn said, it has been really hard. Like, I don't have stand. I can't see my teammate, my coach. There's no interaction beyond a virtual level. And I think another thing has been motivation and inspiration. It's tough for everybody with all the uncertainty of when things will come back and how things will come back. And but I'm reminded of a great quote that I like from Chuck Close, and he says, "Inspiration is for amateurs." So like, I just, I try to just do the work and like get the first step going. Put my workout clothes on. When Willa naps, like that's my workout time. I'm just doing it. Like creating that habit helps me a lot. Trying to keep score with myself on different stuff. I'm pretty competitive, and then I want to try and beat that score. But it's really hard, and trying to get creative with, household items, because I don't have a score rack, and, it's really different.
Yeah, no, it's challenging all the way around to just try to figure out how to do it, but also the motivation. I think you make a really good point, is staying motivated when you feel like some days like not doing anything is really the most difficult part of all of this, because motivation would be like, I want to go see my teammate, or I'm going to go see everybody. And that sort of would drive you, like I do that with my own workplace. I haven't seen my colleagues in 8 weeks, and I'm just like, what are you guys doing? Is everybody okay? Like, just, I love that. It gives me makes me work better when I'm able to do that. And, on that note, Danita, as president and CEO of the Sparks, like you're navigating a season on hold. There would have been training camps and things going on. I mean, how do you keep people engaged so that they do fill seats when, things get back to normal? And is anything in this virtual space now that we're in helping you do that?
Yeah, typically right now, I'm probably very hard to find during this time. It's kind of crazy. It's like my body clock is off because I'm so used to being like, we'd be less than 30 days from opening night right now. So definitely a challenging time. I think from an internal standpoint, one of the things is I feel like it's like having a family. You got to take care of your four walls first. So one of our big things is making sure our players feel good about what's going on. They're doing virtual training camp right now, creating opportunities for our staff internally to make sure we're spending time together and doing different things together is really big for us. So those, from an internal standpoint, just trying to keep people motivated and really understand that there's going to be moments right now where we feel like, can we keep everybody on board? How are our fans feeling? And I think the best preparation for a moment like this is all the work you do ahead of time, like how you actually build your staff and your team internally, so that in a moment where things aren't necessarily normal, we're able to still stick together because of the foundation we built. I think that then goes into our fans and creating opportunity with our fans. We're engaging on social platforms. We're actually, Courtney Watson, who heads up, she's one of our head trainers and nutritionist. She's been doing virtual things with our fans, talking about things that they can actually do at home, wellness training with them. She did 2 last week. We have more upcoming. Our dance crews have been doing live workshops for people so they can get moving at home, really just having fun. And creating opportunities for people to engage with us in a new way. And even with our players not playing right now, having more accessibility. I mean, for the athletes on here, what it's like when you're training and then you're trying to do fan events and you're like, I can't, like my energy and my focus gets thrown off. So one of the things we're trying to do too is like with this time, being able to leverage our athletes as much as possible and keep them engaged where they have a new opportunity to share their voice and their stories across the board. So I feel like, we all have a great sense of understanding that this is, a very interesting and hard situation for many people. And I'm so proud of our organization from, our ownership down to making that commitment to say, how do we come together during this time? And I think we're being very, very, adamant about that and very conscious of how we continue to grow as an organization through this time.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that because it's almost like trying to minimize and work with things now to maximize things for the future.
Absolutely. And our fans, I mean, kudos to them. I think, especially when it comes to women's athletics, our season ticket holders know their value to us as an organization. I know you guys probably experience it from soccer as well, is that they know that every person that buys season tickets with us and stays on board with us is part of the livelihood of keeping us going as a league. And so to hear some of them say, you know what, if whichever way the season happens, we'll be there in 2021, or if we can be there in 2020, we'll be there. And to hear that from them, to be like, I'm willing to stay and be a part of that, I think that's one of the uniqueness about our fans and what they understand, that they're more than just a typical fan, that they get to help move something forward. And I truly appreciate that dedication from them.
And I like the way you say that, because I was thinking about how interconnected I feel to some of these pro athletes sometimes. And I want to get to Lindsay on this, because my daughter plays professional. Look at me. I'm already jumping the gun over here. She plays competitive volleyball. She's 16, poor kid. And we recently watched April Ross. She did this challenge. She does a couple of them where she uses some backyard things. If we could show that real quick. The challenges she did, she used a board, and we used like a folding table. And the idea was that you could try this at home, try this volleyball drill at home by yourself, right? Because you don't have a lot of partners. And so she did this, and then she put the challenge out there for everyone to do. I didn't jump at all like she's doing. My video did not look like this. But what was great about it is then she would, post a video of some kid doing it in Minnesota and being like, hey, way to go, so-and-so, and doing that. And it just feels like you're connected with these professional athletes that you get to see that are doing this on such a high level. And Lindsay, I know for you, that's really important for your clients to showcase who they really are. But brand and marketing opportunities must have totally shifted once games were postponed and things like that. So what are you recommending to your clients during this time when we've seen these changes?
Yeah, well, I mean, you see what April did, right? And that's 100% April. We're here to help provide a toolkit and maybe some inspiration or some expertise on best practices or trends. But the real beauty of social media, for all its downfalls and the way that it can suck you in. I mean, my 3-year-old's not going to have a phone for a while. But the technology's new, but the energy's not. Like, women have always been really good at this. And April is a natural creator, and the women that we represent, they always have been. So they've always been great partners because of their authenticity, because of their ability to connect. I mean, they're essentially all their own creative directors. It's just taken brands time to catch up, to understand this power. Yet here we are in this moment where it's almost been forced and people are just now noticing. So April came up with that entirely on her own. And I didn't do it because I tore my Achilles about 8 months ago. And I haven't been as diligent with my rehab as I know that my clients are. But we love stuff like that. So we encourage it. She's such a great example, but she's certainly not the only one. I think women athletes are doing an incredible job right now. So you see the rise of things like Instagram Live and the tools across social. I mean, these are only serving to benefit these women. So, their adaptability is really showcased in this moment. And really, I think what it comes down to is that the closer you get to them, the better it is. So really how we've had to adapt is we get to hear yes a lot more often.
Really? I mean, I was going to say, have you had to reconfigure deals or anything during this time?
I think we've always been really creative, especially as a woman representing women. We've always had to be super scrappy and super creative. And it's always been driven by who our clients really are. And now I think people are starting to take notice because analytics and social, it gets you closer to them. And like I said, the closer you get, the better it gets. I mean, Dana, you're totally nodding because this in the way that you connect, with your partners. And it's given us the ability to work with people directly. And I think people are really seeing that power. I mean, for Megan and Sue to be able to stay on for 4 hours with Diana and then Penny, who gave an extra boost. That's incredible. That engagement was incredible. I mean, it was as many people as go to games. So this is a great moment for women.
Right. And maybe that engagement can be profitable if we start looking at things in a different way.
Absolutely.
We come back
and when you look at social, you can actually use analytics and you get to say, look, people do care. You can't just say, oh, get back in the kitchen. Nobody cares. Like, nobody's watching this. Like, no, they are. Like, look at the numbers. And so it's not just some CMO who's a fanboy of, ex quarterback, right? Like, we can actually demonstrate that there's engagement and that over half the population, they're women and they care about what women think. And we've had purchasing power. And I think the numbers show that, and this is an opportunity for us to continue to prove that out.
All right, so I'm a super data nerd. So like on that same note, I looked up some purchasing power numbers, and a report a few years back from Business Insider said that women in the US contribute $7 trillion in consumer and business spending. 68% of new car purchases are done by women. 75% of women are the primary household shopper, but they say 91% of advertisers don't understand them. So there's a sense that they're looking for authenticity when their people are talking to them. And I don't find anyone more authentic than Allie and Ashlyn. So for me, with you guys, how difficult is it to put all of you and who you are and put that all out there in the way that you all do?
I think it's interesting, and I love like what Lindsay's, what she has to say about that. At the end of the day, we all have such important stories to tell, and who we are as people. It's so valuable to showcase that on a personal level. Who Ashlyn Harris is on the field is very different than who she is off the field, and Allie and I have always been very open and honest with our past, with our journey, with our fans, with our relationship. We're trying to, bring people in and show that, we have a space and a community that they can be a part of. And we stand for really important things that people appreciate. And, I think that has been a really big shift for us, and it's super hard and it's vulnerable, and but it's so empowering, and it's this type of connection where you really take time to get to know the people around you and the people that show up for you every day and support you. And it's just as simple as just like giving them the time that they deserve and really looking into their eyes and seeing how they're doing. I mean, I stop and talk to fans, and they really genuinely feel like they know me, and that they're a part of my success, and they're a part of my journey, and they're a part of my life. And for me, that's a choice. That's a choice to be, what you see is what you get with me. I know, there's times I'm rough around the edges, and, I stand for certain things, but at the end of the day, there's no smoke and mirrors. Like, this is me. And if I can, show up for my wife and show up for my community and my family and be consistent with that, like that's something people can relate to and get down with and support and feel a part of. And I think that has always been the driving force behind me being very open and honest and bringing really difficult topics to the conversation. And I think that like has been a really big part of my branding and who I am and what I represent. And I'm not perfect. And I own that, and that's okay. And I don't pretend to be this perfect athlete making perfect decisions all the time. And I share my scars. And I think that's the beauty of connection and interacting is really taking it deep and personal. And I think that's what keeps people coming back.
And you just mentioned having to talk about, the difficult things as well, sort of the fight that you are in, the message. And sometimes it's not easy to do. Obviously, there's been a development this week with the judge dismissing the equal pay claim in the U.S. women's national team's lawsuit. Number one, your reaction to that. Number two, how limited are you in continuing putting that message out of pay equity?
I think for us, like, of course we're shocked, but then there's a little piece of us that says like, well, we're not that shocked because this is what we've been, fighting against for so long now. But this doesn't mean that the fight's over. We're going to continue to fight our butts off as much we can every single day, and continue to fight for women across all industries, not just in soccer, but in our sport and women's sports. So we want to fight for women across all industries and make sure that just because this is a little bump in the road doesn't mean that we're not going to find success in the end. And I think we thrive under pressure, and we've been through a lot of difficult times, both with the national team and our certain club teams, and then individually. So we know how to fight, and we'll continue to do that and speak up on our platforms together, and stay unified as always. And it's not that shocking, but in the times recently that we've been really fighting, and how much support we've had over these past I guess year and months, it is shocking to us that had happened.
Yeah.
And
I mean, here's the thing, we're women here, like,
Yeah.
we know this isn't gonna be easy. Like, there's no red carpet that's just like, here you go, I'm so sorry for all the past like, this is gonna be a grind, right? This is gonna be hard. It's gonna be a hard fight to the end. But I tell you what, if I can tell you anything about this team, these girls, it's like they can pull these claws out. I'm telling you, this is just the start, and these women are not going to stop fighting, and we won't stop fighting until we get what we think we deserve, and we deserve a lot more right now.
And it's not just us. I feel like a lot of females in sport and other teams, like recently, more specifically in the WNBA, it's so refreshing to kind of team up together and fight together. And just women in all sports have kind of unified in recent months and in this past year, and it's inspiring for us, and it's more motivating for us to want to continue to fight.
Yeah, this is just fueling us. This is long, like, this is the long haul. We're in it for the long haul at this point, and the biggest thing for us is to stay relevant, right? So we got to keep winning. We got to keep speaking about these like topics that matter to us, and we got to keep, not just knocking down doors, but kicking down doors. Like, we're not polite, excuse me, can you open up? Like, we're here, and you need to.
Absolutely. And Danita, let's just transition to you, because you and I talked about this same thing. One, it's about winning. Women have to keep winning to keep that message going and sort of at the top there. But, Allie and Ash just talked about the collective bargaining agreement in the WNBA. It gives women real choices when it comes to having children and motherhood and keeping their professional game going. What does this mean for the game, and frankly for other sports and leagues that perhaps need to catch up?
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to what we were saying. We're not playing a short-term game here. This is about long-term wins, and the CBA sets up for that next generation of athletes. It's helping to take care of our current athletes in a better way, but making sure that next generation has an opportunity to expand, to have balance between sport and life. And we as women, the ones that have to carry the children, our life is just set up differently when it comes to sports and how we have to do things at home in a different facet. And so I think our CBA gives that opportunity to our players in a new way, which is absolutely phenomenal. But not only that, we just had our draft a few weeks ago. And so these young women now that are being drafted into a league know that they're coming into a league that it's starting to build a sustainable future for them. And that's so powerful, where before, I mean, I can imagine when I was in high school or even in middle school, just even thinking about being a professional athlete, it's not necessarily on the radar because you don't have the option. And I know in our conversation, I talked about the importance of women's professional leagues. It goes beyond, soccer, volleyball, basketball, but we need a women's professional softball league. Like, we need to have these stages that are true and that are backed with great partners, because these athletes are phenomenal. And so I think the CBA with us helps set that stage for our players, giving them opportunity to stay in market. So like we talked about being relevant, imagine, every year for 9 months, our players are out of market. They don't have an opportunity to stay relevant, connect with brands, and to really build out, but now having the opportunity to keep more players in market with better pay and new opportunities on a year-round basis. All of that is helping. It's not all the way there, but we're heading in the right direction. And I think it's the foundation of a future in which we really believe in. And that's what the CBA means for us.
Yeah, and Lauren, you're a mom dealing with it right now. I mean, what are some of the realities of being, a pro athlete, pregnant, then now in motherhood?
Yeah, it's been quite the whirlwind of learning and realizing all the things that I didn't know. Like I didn't know what a pelvic floor was before I was pregnant. And so it's been kind of overwhelming. And I think a motivating factor for me to be really authentic in sharing my experience, my gnarly birth story, my postpartum recovery. I had all these ideas about how everything would go. And, you know, having great support from sponsors. I had my sponsors stay with me throughout pregnancy and postpartum. And I think a lot of that had to do with the women and the female athlete moms who came before me and were speaking about their struggles with sponsors and maternity leave, like Alicia Montano, and just seeing other athlete moms share their story, like Serena and Allison Felix, and all these great role models for me, because it takes a ton of support from sponsors, from your league, from family. My trainer would like give me extra time, allow me extra time than his normal clients in case I have to breastfeed in the middle of training. My teammate being willing to fly up and stay with me for a week, and you know, be with my daughter. So it's been a challenge, but also just really, I love this opportunity to really share my story and add one perspective of an athlete mom trying to do crazy things.
But I think it's really empowering because I find sometimes it's in the ask, right? We need to ask for these things and feel empowered to be able to do that so that someone can say, yes, if we don't ask and pretend that we're fine and everything's good, sometimes it's not there. And I see more and more women like yourself, Lauren, and others just, you know, saying like, I need this, I'm asking for it, and still being able to do what you do. I feel like my husband, I remember having my daughter and he's like, you're like a superwoman, like your body's back and you're like coming back. Like you just sort of were meant to respond. Like look at our bodies and how we do it anyway. Like we are superwomen, we are specimens, right? So
giving birth, I think, was my greatest athletic accomplishment for sure.
Yeah. Lindsay, I mean, taking that narrative and sort of like, you know, women who are mothers, they have diverse backgrounds. We come from different places. I wanted to put something up of Ibtihaj and the deal that you were able to get with her with Mattel and the Barbie with the hijab. It to me, like I see that and I'm just like blown away about just sort of being able to represent these different communities and be seen. I was a reporter that 20 years ago was told to, not even 10 years ago, was told to straighten her hair because people wouldn't understand curly hair on television. And I said no, and I lost a job. That is a reality, you know? So how do you translate all of these diverse athletes and go to sponsors and brands and tell them like this is who they are, what they stand for, and, you know, stand behind them?
Yeah, well, I think that representation matters. You know, I guess it matters who your agent is too. But I mean, look, what we've done has always been about centering athlete voices. It's why we represent the women we do. I mean, it is not, you know, an accident who we partner with, and the way that we serve them is by figuring out what is important to them, what matters to them, how do they identify, and then really connecting that with the energy of what's happening, you know, in culture, in the marketplace. How do we lead? What should we be doing? What can we ask for that other people maybe haven't thought of? And, you know, to your point, Lily, about asking, you know, you have to ask for someone to say yes. And that's literally our job, is to make sure we're asking those questions. So, you know, the conversations about maternity benefits, you know, we just did a deal with a reproductive clinic in Seattle that actually covers the egg freezing of clients that's going to be rolling out. And this was prior to it being integrated in the CBA. It's been on pause because a lot of fertility centers have been closed for a little while, but it'll be coming out soon. But we've led with things like that. I mean, we led with the maternity language into shoe and apparel contracts. We led with an inclusion rider with Simone Manuel, with TIER. And so, you know, as we're seeking out deals and as we're building out partnerships, you know, we always have an eye towards those larger goals. And that's because that's what matters to our clients, but it's also very much who we are. So impact really matters to us. It informs the way that we do our business. And, leading for us is way more than just how much money you get for a campaign. That's certainly a metric, and we are very focused on equality and making sure that women are being given opportunity and celebrated equally,
Right.
And paid for their work equally. But, for us, it also means that we're aligning with a campaign and a brand's intentions. We ask about who's producing it. We ask about who's writing it. Who's the photographer? Can it be a woman? Can it be a woman of color? It probably needs to be, who's modeling the product that should be signature product with our athletes' names on it. What's the give back component? Are they investing in leagues? I mean, I just think that all of those questions are really critical, and we're asking them with our clients because they want us to.
Yeah, and Danita and Allie and Ashlyn, Lauren, I mean, do you have any thoughts on that as well in terms of like, who you are, who you align yourself with, but also the knowledge that like it can be beneficial, it is productive and profitable?
I think for me, one of the big initiatives I've been focusing on over, multiple years, but really in the last year or so as I came back with the Sparks is like finding brands that look and feel like our players.
Mm-hmm.
But in the midst of that, there's also this piece where we talk about most of the time that male CMO that is in that position that is the one making decisions about partnership dollars. But there are a lot of women-led companies out here that can actually invest in women's sports. But what I find at times, and what, part of my own personal mission is to educate them on the power of investing their dollars in sports and what that looks like. And a lot of times there's this fear because, you think about sports and you see the big arenas and the $1 million investments, realizing that maybe it's not $1 million that you have to invest because you're a smaller based company, but you look and feel like us. Maybe if we do things together and we push forward, your brand with our brand, we have an opportunity to grow. And that's a big point for me right now. One of my big missions has been trying to find a natural hair care company for our team. And I think it's so powerful. It represents our players and who they are, and helping them to also understand the benefits of that. So for me, it's about who are our players, what do they represent, what brands are in alignment with them, and how do we push that together forward? Because together, as Allie said, we can grow this, but a lot of times we feel like we have to be in alignment just with that big brand. And sometimes if we can't get there, why can't I get 10 smaller brands or mid-tier brands or even a larger scale female brand to work with, and then we together can push this forward? So those are the things that I think about and I work for our players. And I feel like that makes them feel like, hey, if I'm like, all right, this brand is working with us and it looks and feels like them, they're going to be like, I'll represent this brand as well. They feel more confident in that. And so that's really how I look at it, and from a focus standpoint for us as an organization.
And Ashlyn, I actually just pulled, one of the clips I pulled was of your Bumble and Bumble campaign as a curly head person, thinking about the same thing. But I mean, your authenticity in that type of thing, when you are looking at, there you are, when you're looking at things to promote, it must be so important for you to really feel like someone is aligned with who you are and doesn't challenge you, the person, in any way.
Yeah, I think you get to, and Lindsay touched on this, you get to a point where you're so close and comfortable with your circle. Like as an athlete, it's so important to align yourself with people who represent you. It matters. It's important. I know with my agent and my team of people, they know me really well and they know exactly what I stand for. And a lot of, people who I partner with, it's because I genuinely, I align with what their mission is. Like for me, it's not a transaction. It's not, oh, I'm just going to do this campaign because of the money. Like I think you get to a point in your professional career where you can strategically plan out, like, this is what I stand for. And unless a company understands that and lets me be me, I don't even want to flirt with the conversation. I think when I think back and I shift to my younger years, I used to do things, right? Mm-hmm. I was so confused and I was like a chameleon, right? One company would tell me to do this and wear this kind of clothes and braid my hair and, it was just not me. And it drove me nuts and I couldn't sleep. And this is not the vision that I had dreamt of and created and who I wanted to be. And I had to have a serious talk with my group of people, and I was like, this is me, this is who I am, I stand behind this, this is the brand I want to create, and we either are, everyone's on board, or we need to really reflect and we need to bring the right people in. And they listened to me and they listened to me and they understood like my vision and what I really wanted to accomplish. And they've just enhanced it and enhanced it and enhanced it. And it has aligned me with the right partners, with the right people. And at the end of the day, I can only be Ashlyn. I am the best at being Ashlyn. I can't be all these other things these brands want me to be. I refuse to. So if I have the phone call with whoever brand I'm partnering with, I need to express who I am, what I'm about, what comes with this package in terms of who I am as a person, what I bring to the table. And that's how the relationship evolves. It's not people working and saying, oh, she's this, she's that. No, I am taking a seat at the table. I am telling you a little bit about me and my life and my journey and why I tick the way I tick. And it's either you're a part of that and I'm very authentic and real, or you're not.
Right. And I think that's such a a great thing to show to some younger folks who, just life, you question things as a young lady, as a young person in general, just as you go through. And Lauren, I guess with you, transitioning from that point, you coach young ladies at Stanford Beach Volleyball, and, they must go through the ups and downs of just your body shifting, during those years in life. And how do you continue to sort of give them some of the lessons of like you as a pro athlete, but also keeping them competitive and remain sort of viable in their own stance?
Yeah, I think kind of the opportunity that we have with these student athletes is pretty unique. Like, they're going to be influential, high-level leaders, likely in the future, and really influential with their peers now. And I think kind of encouraging them and showing them the value in doing hard things and approaching conflict, just things that can create credible confidence in themselves, that they can trust themselves to adapt in new situations. I feel like that has been a really like a key theme and something that I really enjoy getting to kind of guide the discovery. And I think it's going to move the needle, being able to share history, share the stories about, my mother-in-law, for instance, rode at Syracuse with hand-me-down jerseys, using the men's boats when they were not in use. They had no place to change, near the docks, and just sharing these stories of the people who've come before and who had a passion for competing when things weren't ideal, and just giving that exposure, gratitude, and
no, I think that's great. And I think if our past only shows where we can go, but also where we are and the point that we are. So like we have to, there are a lot of things that are challenging, but celebrating successes. The WNBA virtual draft was the second highest rated since 2004. The National Women's Soccer League has a television deal and will be on, online and over the internet on CBS. I mean, there are certain things that are happening, even though there are challenges like girls' developmental programs being ousted, and things that are happening in our courts. And so it's that balance of what history has taught us, right? I mean, we have a long way to go, but this is where we sit in our power to do something in this generation to move the needle forward. I wanted to get to some questions that we got from folks that had sent some in, because I want them to know that we heard, and we want their voices to be heard as well. So, Danita, I'm going to put this one to you. It's from Lori Hen, and she asked, do you foresee the 2020 season being shortened, or do you think it will be a full season when it starts?
That's a great question. We'll see. I think I can't really answer that one, but I do know that we're working our best to make sure that one, at the forefront, the health, safety, and our players are, number one in whatever decisions are made. So right now there's several different options that the leagues are looking at, as you probably hear in the news every day, but nobody has a real answer just yet. So we're kind of like in the sit and wait game. I think we really are just evaluating the situation as it continues to change day to day. And then from there, being able to make the best decision possible that creates a safe environment for our players, our fans, and our staff. So hopefully, pretty soon as we continue to learn more, we'll be able to really give that answer to our fans. But I think we just need a little bit more time as we figure everything out.
All right. Another one, Elizabeth asks, how do you use your platform to promote diversity in the sports industry? And how do you ensure that everyone has a seat at the table? Lindsay, why don't you take that one?
I think it's in everyday decisions, right? Like, we're in a position where our very existence is political in almost every way, if you really step back and look at it. So it's from who we hire to who we work with to who we represent. So, I think it comes down to each and every decision you make. And I think it's our obligation in those conversations to be the ones who ask those questions and make sure that we're considering different points of view. I'm really used to being the only woman in the room. I'm really used to being the only woman of color in the room, but I think all of us need to take the responsibility seriously to make sure that different points of view and perspectives are being represented.
Yeah. Ellie Schneider has a longer question, but she would really like that in post-COVID-19 or during this time that we're reopening the country, for women leagues and commissioners that have been perhaps left out of conversations to be part of how we reopen, when we start things. So I know, Danita, you're obviously part of that process. But she also asked this, and how do you think leagues and their athletes can recover and build on the momentum of their success in recent years? And Lauren, I think this goes, I want to pose this one to you because it's, you're coming back, then you're like stalled again. And, that momentum to keep pushing forward and recovering and building off of that. So how do you build off of what you've done? Moving forward, looking towards 2021 now?
Yeah, I mean, just it's a great question. I think for me, like in terms of like influences, like I kind of look at it, who's in my circle. So like my tightest circle is my daughter. Like that's gonna be like my biggest job, is how I influence her to see her worth and to see that things are possible. And then kind of the next layer, I would say, is like the Stanford team. Like I was saying before, like these are women who are poised to move the needle in the future. And so just being able to influence them, and then supporting brands and companies that give exposure to women, I think kind of similar to what Lindsay's saying, like choices, like examining those choices and how they are going to affect keeping this momentum kind of going, that's how I see it, I think.
Yeah, and perhaps even when it's hard, right? When you have to make the hard decision of not moving forward with something that's uncomfortable and that could have been great for your bottom line, but it's not who you are, and having, to be okay in that is it's probably one of the most difficult decisions we've all had to do and will likely continue to do. One more, and this is from E. Shamira. She asks, I want to be an ally. I want people around me to feel safe and appreciated. We are often told to stand up to social injustice when we see it, yet nobody presents us with ways to do it. Could you please suggest some examples of how to do it? Ali and Ashlyn, I pose this one to you.
I think that, we just have to speak on issues that we actually believe in, and then it comes out super authentic and relatable. And I feel like that's what we do with our everyday lives. We pick certain organizations or topics to really talk about and to stand up for and give everything to. And I think it starts with ourselves, and then it starts with, everything else that we believe in. And so I feel like if you're doing that authentically and you really put, work into helping those organizations and people around you who, are in your circle every single day, I think that is key So I feel like Ash and I wake up every day not wanting to just be average. We want to be elite, and we want to help those around us, feel that as well, and continue to fight for what they believe in. And I think that's really helped us. And I don't know. I think that we want to continue to help others be successful. And so we give everything of ourselves, and that's such an authentic way. And also I think about our national team, for example, and what's so attractive about everyone on our national team is that we're all so different and we're so relatable. And, any one of our fans or supporters can pick any one of us out and relate to them and be inspired by them and motivated by them to want to achieve success, but also fight for what, we believe in. And I think that that is something that's really great about our national team and about each other as individuals.
Yeah, and I think for Ali and I, like the most important thing and what she hits on is like purpose, right? So at the end of the day, it's important. We all want to do something, right? We want to leave something behind, but you really got to sit back and figure out your why. Like I had to reflect, Ali had to reflect, like you have to figure out your purpose and your why and what drives you and motivates you to change. That way you can really dive in and be effective.
And it could be even in the little things. Like I remember I was thinking back to, because when I looked at this question, I was like, I wonder, how would I tell my daughter to do this? And I remember she had an issue with someone who wasn't letting her speak in class. And it was like an inappropriate thing that was said, but it was sly, right? It wasn't like super like directly inappropriate. And I said, well, go tell them that you didn't like that and that you felt it was disrespectful. And it was hard to do. It was an adult and she had to do that. But it's, she fought her little injustice in like that one moment. So perhaps it's all of us doing, these little things that we can celebrate, in our own different ways at home at pushing the needle forward. But I know that there's a lot of people who are very concerned with, girls programs being cut and things of that nature. Are there things that we can do at home to sort of help push any fight that we believe in? Anyone can take that.
I mean, I'll take part of that. I'm sure everybody would have something to add, but just to build on what Ali and Ashlyn are saying to me, I think that, with any issue, there's always an expert organization doing the work. I got into this through sort of the nonprofit space, and I'm a big believer that there are incredible organizations doing incredible things. To amplify that work is to partner with organizations that are a good fit for them. And so we're really proactive in looking for those right partners for athletes so we can just amplify the expert work that's being done in those spaces. But I just want to emphasize that how much small things can add up. And for however many people are viewing today, however many people follow, athletes like Lauren or athletes like Ali and Ashlyn, like literally liking a post is helpful. Right? It can be that small. It really does matter because that's influence that these athletes can then carry forward that we can leverage around. Like it feels really small, but it actually does matter. Like reposting, engaging, it's the articles that you click on, it's the tickets that you buy, it's how you show up in the very small moments throughout the entire day. And people for years ask me like, oh, what's the magic bullet? How do we make the WNBA relevant? There's no magic bullet. Like, it's not one thing. It's all of us making good choices, like with intention and understanding that all of our actions, the dollars that we spend it with brands that invest in women, like spend it with leagues that invest in women, like rally around athletes to prove that these women are viable endorsers because one deal leads to another. So I just think that you can be overwhelmed by thinking that you need to solve the whole thing with a big idea, and it's really not. It's a collection of little choices.
And following up on that, so then what, Lindsay, you bring up a good point. That's the way to sort of move the needle forward. Danita, do you have a suggestion on what we do now? What can we do now to continue this momentum?
Yeah, I mean, I think Lindsay hit right on it. It is the little things. It's the support elements that you can add in. I think even during this time, our athletes are very visible. So going on, following their platforms, looking at them, understanding their stories, because they're sharing a lot. And so I think for individuals, when you look at the individual athlete and you start to learn about them, it then connects you to the league in which they play in. So maybe following that path where you choose like 2 or 3 athletes that you just want to learn about in a space, and then being able to connect to them, I think it's huge. And, you know, Deloitte just put out a piece, I think it was last week, that's saying women's sports is like the #1 thing to invest in 2020. And so looking at that and understanding that your dollars and your investment into this area, even from a partnership side, they're so critical for the overall success of these leagues. Like partnerships in media, like we've got to have it. People got to see us. People have to invest in us for us to grow. And the more opportunities, you know, maybe it's you have a business at home and it's like you bring, you know, you buy tickets for your office and you're a woman leader. And one of the things I see that runs into is that there are women in position, but all the people around them are men in the room, and therefore they can't push something through to actually help us. And that's probably one of the hardest conversations we have to have with executives, when they're like, I've had conversations with a woman, she was a former athlete, played overseas and was in CMO seat and couldn't spend money with us because the rest of the room wouldn't vote on it. So, you know, so there are people that are trying to help. So if we as people that have a discretionary income and we're spending our money in different places, I mean, Lindsay's right, do the small things. Like everybody that's listening to this should go on and follow each and every one of our platforms. Like that helps, like to see an increase like that day by day builds and pushes us forward.
Then quickly, we only have about 2 minutes. Lauren, and then Allie and Ashlyn, I'd love for you guys to give us some advice.
I don't know if I have anything to add to those two. I mean, I think that was amazingly well said. But I think I'll just go back to like, yeah, for me, like influencing my circles and staying authentic with the relationships that I have. And then good choices, like they're talking about, to support and finding opportunities, like when I have these opportunities to influence and push the needle.
You're going to do it. You're going to do it. Yeah. Allie, Ashlyn, moving forward, how do we build the momentum, continue it in 30 seconds?
Sorry, our audio is cutting out a little bit. Can you repeat that?
In 30 seconds, just tell me how we can build momentum off of some of the things that are going well and doing well now with women's sports, and even the challenges. How do we build momentum?
We still can't hear.
Oh, that's
Sorry, guys.
Well, we're so just you know, I think they've already mentioned some of the things they do in terms of like their own brands and pushing things forward and staying authentic. And I think that's the real thing here, because I think if everyone, you know, I joke all the time, like let's make this the #1 thing on YouTube, and it's like if everything could be the #1 thing on YouTube, then it would be. That's not the way this works, right? You have to like. It has to be good, it has to be cultivated well, and people have to really believe in who you are. And by the way, Danita, the Deloitte Sports Industry Outlook is from 2020. You're totally right. It's the biggest trends on the sports scene. And in 2020, it's the #1 thing is the rise of women's sports. And we have to remember the most goals won for USA were women in 2016. There are so many things that we can look on that. And then I love, because the same trends are coming back too. In 2019, it was athletes as content creators. It was tackling mental health, which, you know, people on this panel have done already, and personalizing fan engagement. So ding, 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 you guys are doing all of that and moving that forward. Any final thoughts as we close out from anyone?
I just want to say, even though, you know, we're stuck at home and we're kind of going through this worldwide crisis, everyone can still get better as individuals and make people around them better, and challenge yourself to new things. And just like Lindsay was talking about, you know, engage. If that has to be online, so be it, but we can engage and help change people's lives and just better each other, because people need people. And I think if we just continue to fight and continue to make each other better every single day, I feel like as a whole, you know, we're gonna grow together, you know, in this country and around the world as better individuals, and continue to inspire people to want to be great and to be successful.
And I almost always close out whenever I'm speaking with something with a bracelet that I wear all the time. I don't think you guys can see it, but it's the African proverb Ubuntu. And it basically means I am who I am because of who we are. And I think that's a really great sentiment as we move forward. Only women, we can only help each other if we're all in this together, if we support each other, if we, celebrate our successes and help us when we fall to get back up. I want to thank everyone on this panel, Lauren, Lindsay, Allie, Ash, Danita, you're amazing. I honor you and I really appreciate and respect the time that you've given us out of your busy stay-at-home day, because I know we're all still very busy. Ashley, I want to bring you back here to close it out from WISE. You're still on mute. There you are.
On behalf of WISE, just want to thank all our panelists for such thought-provoking and powerful conversation today. Thank you again to our sponsors, Los Angeles Football Club, LA Galaxy, and Dignity Health Sports Park. And of course, thank you to everyone for tuning in today. Please keep an eye out on our social media and on our website, wiselosangeles.org, for our upcoming virtual events. We love having you and sharing this community with you. Have a great week, everyone, and happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there.